So this is the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and it's going to be updated just next month. Probably going to be taken out of the lineup for the 17 Pro Max. But today we're going to take a look at one of the older but very iconic iPhone 11 Pro Max here in the midnight green. This phone, we're going to do a speed test comparison, and it's 6 years old just about. This came out way back in 2019. So this will be exciting to see how well does this old iPhone stack up against the latest on iOS 18.6.2. Let's find out. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And let's go ahead and begin with a boot up test in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now, on the left, we do have ourselves the Apple A18 Pro chip. On the right, we're looking at a much older Apple A11 Bionic chipset. So this phone is rather old in that department. However, when I was testing these prior to the video, I was shocked at how well just general day-to-day casual use has been still performing on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Is still usable. The iPhone 16 Pro Max takes the win by about 4 seconds. So that's not horrible when it comes to booting up. I mean, we're talking about 6 years old just about, and it only takes 4 seconds longer to turn on an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Not too shabby there for a 2019 flagship. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our Face ID or unlocking test here between both of these. So if we take a look, they both actually unlock at about the same time. The 11 Pro Max was like the third version of the iPhone with Face ID, so it's actually not too different in terms of the actual hardware on both of them. The only difference is you do have the older notch here for the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and then you do have yourself the dynamic island over here. Let me turn out dark mode so we can see that notch a lot clearer. Then you have dynamic island over here. That is the big upgrade. It's crazy how nice and smooth the iPhone 11 Pro Max still feels here. But in terms of everyday usage, we already know that this is the latest, so it's going to be very smooth and fast. And I do want to confirm that we are on iOS 18.6.2. That Apple A18 Pro is clocked in at 4.40 gigahertz. So that's actually a higher clock speed than some of the previous iPhones, and 8 gigabytes of RAM, which felt like forever for Apple to get it on there. But for general day-to-day use here in the operating system speed, you'll see this actually just kind of looks like a 16 or a 16 Plus with its 60 Hz refresh. But kind of just scrolling through, you can see that this phone can still handle iOS no problem. And I know this seems like it's pointless to do at this point, but when you take a look at some of my older videos back in the day, the iPhone like 5S and 5, when those devices, 6, 6S, those older iPhones, they were starting to lag up after a few years. So it's kind of nice to see that even like a 5 or 6 year old iPhone still performs pretty well just on its springboard on the main home screens here. So that's really no massive issue whatsoever. It looks actually just like a 16 Plus will look with its 60 Hz refresh. Let's go ahead and confirm that we are on iOS 18.6.2 right there, latest official version. Apple A13 Bionic chipset, 2.66 gigahertz clock speed, so a much lower clock speed and double less RAM. So we'll have to see, and it does only have 3.66 gigs, so that's actually half the RAM of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So we'll see if that plays into the RAM management department. So this actually doesn't really even look like a Max anymore here in 2025, but let's go ahead and show you that everything is closed out. And we have 6.5 inch screen, 6.9 inch. We'll begin here with calendar on both of them. And if we go over here and swipe out, that looks pretty much the same. If I go to clock, pretty much the same. And anybody using this now just for casual daily use probably doesn't even notice any slowdowns. Let's go in a calculator. I do think heavier users will tell you, and that was faster on the 16 Pro Max, will tell you, okay, my 11 Pro Max is starting to slow down a bit, especially when I'm switching between applications. I do feel that person will actually notice this being slower, but general casual use seems pretty good. And ChatGPT runs its own server, so even the older 11 Pro Max, you can do prompts, you can do anything with those things. So when they advertise AI, we really need to look at, is there a lot of AI built into the phone itself? Like the iPhone 16 Pro Max has the Apple Intelligence. We don't have that on the right. That's where you really need to look, because you can really run these chatbots on any phone. That was faster on the left. And launching Copilot shows a faster speed on the left as well. So even some casual applications they definitely feel slower here at this point 6 years later, but This is not like anything substantially slower that you wouldn't be able to use. It doesn't make the 11 Pro Max unusable here. But if you want all the other upgrades and you do want something that's snappier, it's finally time, I would say, to go ahead and consider an upgrade from the 11 Pro Max. If it's within reason, like it's something you're trying to do, it's probably the good time. Let's go into X. Some people are going to say, I got rid of my 11 Pro Max 4 years ago. Was the time then? But I mean, if you held on and the phone's still working fine, imagine how big of an upgrade the 11 Pro Max feels now to a 16 Pro Max or even a 17 Pro Max coming, even a 17 Air. And the thing that's about the 11 Pro Max is that because it had 60 hertz, you can actually upgrade to any iPhone because they all are going to have smooth displays here, it looks like, in September, and it's going to feel like a major upgrade no matter what you go to. Also, because the 6.3 on the Pro is not that far off the 6.5, you can even go to that one and it would still feel like an upgrade over the 11 Pro Max. But if you want a huge upgrade, any of the Max devices of the newer phones are definitely going to feel huge to you. I am seeing just this, every single app just loading noticeably faster. This is something we don't see in some of my other speed tests where the gap is a little bit closer, like it's a 2 or 3 year difference. We see it in the benchmarks more. But here, when we're talking about a 5-6 year gap, this might be the true upgrade area where you're really going to feel that difference. Let's go over here to RTS. Some people say, well, loading doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in terms of like they won't work on either phone. But what matters is when you start loading these applications day to day, and you got a lot going on, you got a lot on your plate. As the phone gets faster, like when you upgrade to this newer 16 Pro Max, I find that it just makes you a little bit more efficient with just getting things done on the fly. Especially if you got your hands full, you're busy, you're trying to get something done quick. Those app launches do matter. Let's go into Free Fire. And yes, you could say, well, you're just being impatient of 3 seconds or whatever. It's not about a single application, waiting on one. It's when you're bouncing between them, you're using multiple ones and you're trying to get some stuff done on your phone, you'll notice that delay, it's just not great, especially if you're in productivity mode, basically. That's why I always say for the casual user, you're probably not going to notice it too much, but I even think a casual user would really notice it on the 11 Pro Max or the 16 Pro Max. Now, the game mode launches on both of them, but you can see Call of Duty pulling way ahead here for the left on the 16 Pro Max. And that's a really pretty noticeable here. The GPU is substantially improved, the bigger screen, longer battery life. And so not only would the speed and performance be better on the 16 Pro Max, you would actually have a noticeably better visual experience as well. So the 11 Pro Max, still very solid, but it's not going to be visually as fun to play. Let's go on LumaFusion here. And we had a problem starting the app, but it's still launched. Faster on the 16 Pro Max. And Geekbench 6, faster on the 16 Pro Max. 3D Mark, faster on the 16 Pro Max. And that was faster on the left. And InShot, so faster on the left. So the 16 Pro Max basically won almost every single app launch as expected. But if I was to give the verdict, because the main point of this video is to see how the 11 Pro Max is doing. This is the placeholder to kind of see how it stacks up to a new phone. The 11 Pro Max did pretty solid here. I mean, if I wasn't comparing them side by side, I would probably not have an issue with the performance overall. I do have an issue though when it comes to RAM management though, because it doesn't seem to hold all the apps, and that becomes a problem when I'm doing productivity based tasks. Like I got Google Docs open, I'm doing something in the banking app, calculator, another app, and then I want to go back to ChatGPT or something like that. This will start to reload. We'll see here in the RAM management test. So we're going to do the 16 Pro Max just to kind of give you an idea of what a modern phone is going to do here with the ProMotion. It's just going to do it flawlessly. That's just what it does. Let's go over here. It just does everything correctly and doesn't give us too much of an issue here. If we swipe through, everything looks good. Instagram looks good there. We'll go to YouTube. We'll go to Copilot, Grok, Gemini. We'll go over to ChatGPT, App Store, Calculator, Clock, and Calendar. And you can see as I hop back through, let me go ahead and hop back through the application. If I go over here, there's the 11 Pro Max. I shot that video or that photo back in 2022. If we go over here to Gemini, everything's good. You can see as we pop through, this is where the 16 Pro Max would really shine. It's just gonna flow with your day-to-day, very snappy and very smooth these days. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 11 Pro Max now. All right, so this should start out pretty good, and I don't think it's gonna give us any reloads to begin, but it's not gonna make it all the way through. So far doing pretty good. Let's go over here to RTS, and we're already starting our first reload. So we only had about 4 to 5 applications open, and Race the Sun is reloading, and here goes Subway Surfers. Again, I'm not playing 5 games at once. I get that. What I'm saying is though, is if I was doing some productivity stuff and like I was in X, for example, wanted to go copy and paste something, and then boom, this thing, this thing is going to get annoying because I don't want to like wait every time for the application to load when I was just in the application. So Grok was having a slowdown there. And we'll go to ChatGPT. You can see App Store, Play Store. It seems like it can hold those basic apps open pretty well, so no major issues. I would say if I was to judge that score right there, that was a 10 out of 10 on the left. This was like a 6 out of 10. I still think it's good for 2025, actually. It's not horrible. It's just not super fast. So it's more like a mid-ranger phone is what it kind of feels like now in terms of the RAM management, and even the display kind of feels mid-ranger. But the hardware, the actual look and feel, still feels flagship on the 11 Pro Max. And here are the final Geekbench 6 scores, and you could see doubling it there on the single core with about almost 4,000 more on the multi-core. Now, if you take a look at the regular scores that this phone usually gets, I got a little bit lower today on both the single and the multi-core, probably because I was launching a bunch of apps before running the benchmark. But you can see it can score up to 8406. This one also is scoring right in line with where it is on the single core, and then I actually did better than the average on the 11 Pro Max. But the 11 Pro Max definitely feels pretty warm right now. So let me go ahead and check their heat before they cool down too much and see how they're doing here. And we'll measure this here, and you can see we're measuring right about 96.4. So that already had a little bit of time to cool down. Let's see where this phone is sitting. And you can see at its hottest point, much hotter. So this is one of the things I will tell you, 104.9. I will tell you is that these iPhones, as they age, the batteries obviously get old, but they tend to get better thermal management over the years. And so your older iPhone on newer software updates is going to feel a little bit toastier. That's just kind of the way it is. So let's go ahead and run a 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme test so we can see graphically what we would get if we decided to use an iPhone 11 Pro Max. So we'll let that benchmark run, and we'll go over here to this one over here, and we'll see what happens. Wildlife Extreme test right there. So let me come back when they're done running these tests, and we'll see what their average frame rates are and how they stack up against each other. So I'll be right back. And so looking at the iPhone 16 Pro Max final score, pretty much in line with my other tests, around 27.4 FPS with 4571 there, scoring better than 86% of all devices on the market. If we take a look here, you'll see an average frame rate of 10.7 FPS, and you've seen it actually sustained its performance pretty good right there until the fall off. So it was just holding on very strong, and then it started falling off towards the end there. We'll see that we did have an average frame rate of 7 to 13 FPS. And if we scroll down here, it only scores better than 30% of devices on the market. That means that the iPhone 11 Pro Max is actually slower than some mid-range and maybe even some budget phones here in terms of that benchmark in 2025. So the last thing I want to go ahead and do is take a photo, see how the camera lenses are performing. And let me go ahead and bring in these Apple Watch Nike bands right here for a sample. Let's go ahead and see how they do. Let me pull that out just a little bit, and let's go ahead and launch these. 3, 2, go. And that was much faster on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. We'll do it again. 3, 2, go. You can see much quicker. Now, if I go ahead and snap the photo, shutter speed, good on both. If I go here, you can actually punch in like that now. What I want to check now is the actual zooming. See if it jumps a little bit. And overall, very smooth. This transition looks very smooth here on the 11 Pro Max. The actual quality, I think where the 11 Pro Max tends to suffer is mostly in zooming. It's actually still a very good quality image. I just think in zooming, you really go ahead of the curve. Also sharpness with the 48 megapixel camera, but these zoom shots on the 16 Pro Max just absolutely crushing the older 11 Pro Max. Now, if we zoom out, for some reason, my 11 Pro Max, when I go to the 1 to the 0.5, it just kind of jumps a little bit there. So you can see I just jump a little bit, like right there. So that's the only thing. Other than that, faster on the 16 Pro Max. So let's come to our final verdict conclusion here. The 11 Pro Max definitely going to be a very strong upgrade this year. If you're coming from it going to something else, it's gonna be a strong upgrade for you. It's definitely showing its age a bit in terms of performance. It also looks a little bit older at this point for sure. Camera lenses are really small by comparison to the new iPhones, but definitely it still actually is a usable phone right now. It's on the latest version. Yes, it's 2-3 seconds behind on a lot of things, but it's usable. That's about what I could say. It's casual usable. It's not heavy user phone anymore. It's not like pro user anymore. It doesn't feel like a pro phone anymore. Definitely the hardware does. The hardware looks and feels like that, but it doesn't perform like one is the better way to say it. So let me know your thoughts. Do you still have 11 Pro Max? Are you going to upgrade this year? Or you just watched this because you wanted to see how the Classic does these days? Let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns down below. I'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great Sunday. Be sure to be well. Nick here, and peace.